Welcome back, family. Hope you guys are doing great. I don't want to bombard you with a lot of theories about things that are happening. However, I know many people are getting caught up back into the political realm, and it's by design. It's going to serve a purpose, I feel, in the long run. Of course, it has to, with how far along in time I think we are. Things are going to ramp up in terms of the deceptions and these kings of the earth being deceived. That aspect of it has to happen. And so the Father is obviously capable of using anyone at any time, and he has throughout time used people that you would not think he would use to fulfill a purpose. Like the king of Babylon, when you look at that guy, Nebuchadnezzar, how prideful he was. He served a purpose. Was he doing good things? Most of the time, absolutely not. However, he was serving a purpose. And my wife tells me about that and, tries to clarify that so you understand somebody doesn't have to be perfect to serve a purpose, whether that purpose is doing good for the Father's people, teaching them a lesson, lots of reasons why people can be used. He's obviously served a purpose already, and the enemy likes to divide people. And that aspect of him has been great. You've seen a divide in ways that I would have never thought possible in such a short amount of time. You start buying into the hate, you get unforgiveness. That's what it's about. They want to plant those seeds of unforgiveness in us so that it robs us of our peace. So don't let it rob you of your peace or get caught up into that nonsense. But I wanted to talk about some things that were actually on my heart to share the day that this event happened, this assassination attempt happened. I know some news sources are calling it an incident, downplaying it. I think there is some major significance to this, given that I thought it would happen much sooner. I know when all of us were looking at those play cards, if you're not familiar with what they are, it's this old, 1995 Illuminati card game that so many people were claiming they were putting the plan out there. They were showing you things like 9/11, the Pentagon, the truth that we now know that people laugh at. However, it says here that we know something. Okay, so these cards, as good as they are at predicting things, talked about something that wasn't even on the internet yet. The internet was brand new back in these days. 95, I remember my teachers talking about the internet and how it was going to change the world back in the early 90s. And wow, had no clue it would be where it is today. And so, us knowing something, people laughing at us, it's happening, and it has been happening, and will continue to happen until that firmament opens yet again. But these cards, they talked about this assassination, and enough is enough. And I had no clue that that was actually a quote, quite famous, from Donald Trump, enough is enough, until I saw it in a video, and I thought, there's no way he actually says that. And he does. Enough is enough. So you need to know that's what a winner does, he says. They know when to say enough is enough. And so that came to my mind as soon as this event took place. And why I was wanting to talk about the script in the first place has nothing to do with that card or the assassination. It was actually to do with something I saw in another video where a person was showing how during the debate, someone had heard what sounded like audio of a voice giving Biden some cues as to what to say, literally word for word what he was about to say being spoken before he said it. And pretty much everyone has already believed that he's getting fed these lines through an earpiece or something. And so it's not a shocker, but they found conclusive evidence when they amplified the audio that it was literally word for word what he was about to say being spoken into some sort of audio device so that he could hear it, and then he says it. So that's why he's most likely looking downward when he's talking and not looking directly at the camera. And so that shows you there is a script at the highest level. The president, of course, there's higher levels than that. Obviously, in the powers of darkness, these guys are just puppets, but there is a script. And in these big speaking events that are supposed to sway public opinion to vote for their new charismatic leader, and I guess not so charismatic leaders, but leaders in general, they are staged. We've known they're staged. And then once you see that the audio is there and they're being fed lines, it's a puppet show. It's a literal puppet show. And that is a type of fraud that if this stuff were real, if I was still as patriotic as I was, I would be outraged like This is swaying public opinion and it's based on fraud. You have the actual president. This isn't just a candidate, it's the actual president being fed lines, which shows you that the higher ups are doing things that are fraudulent. Like we've all been saying for years, the powers that shouldn't be are fraudulent, they're lying, obviously. And so they do have a script. It's been proven. I can show you that little clip right here so you can see what I'm talking about. It's not that big a deal. I know none of you are shocked, but here's that little clip just so you can see what I'm talking about. This is an audio guy who focuses in on that audio from the news and amplifies it. It's not that clear. You may have to slow it down, but you can see it's obviously the lines being fed to Biden. So here's that clip real quick.
During the debate, this guy and his wife noticed something really weird in Joe Biden's audio. Check this out.
I heard someone say something.
Let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner.
Oh my God.
So I wanted to take a deeper look at it, so I brought it into Ableton so we could look at the part in between the words, when this is over, and we'll see. And you can see right here, there's actually some audio. It sounds like somebody's actually speaking and telling Joe what to say. So let's enlarge that and take a listen. So you can see right here, somebody's telling Joe what to say.
You're a whiner.
Oh my God.
And so, like I said, obviously there's some fraud there. No big deal. We've known this stuff. It's just interesting to see confirmation of what we already knew. And so going back to the script, I just wanted to remind people of the events that really matter, the events that are going to come true, those unclean spirits at work. Okay, I'm not saying that some of these things aren't the Father at work, but there are going to 100% be, you can guarantee, because it's in Revelation, unclean spirits, like frogs, it says in this vision, coming out of the mouth of the dragon and out of the mouth of the beast and out of the mouth of the false prophet. So you have these three different figures, the dragon, the beast. A lot of you guys have different opinions on what the beast is. That system is going to be in place. And that deadly wound, remember that deadly wound aspect, I believe that it has to do with a lot of the things that came out of Rome. Rome was this worldwide power. It was allegedly taken out when in reality it seemed to just change its form, and it kind of became the church, so to speak. Or didn't kind of, it really did. And so for a long time you had the Inquisitions and all these things where they are pushing out that beast belief system, establishing it in mainstream Christianity, merging with the people who were trying to preach the gospel of the kingdom, and then they go around diluting it and altering it. And so you have those Roman beliefs still infiltrating deeply into most Christian denominations. I would say up there in the 90% range when it comes to that influence, maybe more. And I think a lot of us are coming out of that right now. And so it's for a purpose, and we're going to need to stand strong in the truths that the Father is showing us, because it's for a reason that we are coming out of the mainstream beliefs. It's not easy. You're already receiving some persecution, and we know it's going to get worse. But these unclean spirits coming out of these three figures, what are they doing? What is their plan? Well, it tells us they are going to use miracles. It says right here, they are working miracles. Okay? In Egypt, there were lying signs and wonders. There's all these miracles, all these things they could do. However, when a king needs someone to interpret a dream, they've reached their limits. And that's why with Joseph, he interpreted Pharaoh's dreams. Something these magicians that were using lying signs and wonders and demonic powers could not do. The Father can reveal the dreams. And so he did. Only the Father can do certain things. He revealed the dream to Joseph. He also did this with Daniel in Babylon. And what does Revelation tell us to do? Or what does the Father, that voice from heaven, tell us to do? Come out of Babylon. We're all being called out of Babylon right now and out of Egypt. And many are already in that wilderness experience where we're learning, like it says in Jubilees. They spent 40 years in the wilderness, and that 40 years was to learn the commandments. There was a trial and error period, and I've been learning this stuff for a couple years, and I think I said this before in one of our studies. I feel like I still need almost 40 more years to do that. I've only been alive for the amount of time that those people were in the wilderness. It's not a long time. And so learning the right ways to walk, how to live, what pleases the Father, getting out of our own will, taking that mindset of the beloved Son, thy will be done. It's not easy, but man, it sets you free. It brings you such great peace. And so, right here, going back to what those unclean spirits are trying to do, they're trying to deceive the kings of the earth. Okay, leaders, world leaders, people like presidents and kings, to gather people together to battle of that great day of God Almighty. This is going to happen again after the millennial reign, but they're trying to do that. That is the purpose of getting these world leaders deceived. No matter what their intentions are, people can be deceived. They're going to serve this purpose. And so, could Donald Trump be good? Could we have just this window of good time? Yeah, that'd be great. It would be great to have good times for just a little while, because we know where it's going to eventually get. And I don't know timeline again. There's some confusion. We're studying out timelines yet again because there's differences in different manuscripts, Septuagint versus the Masoretic, trying to find out where we really are. And so we're doing that now. And the big thing is look at what's going on in the world. It's going to match prophecy. So don't get lost in other things. Focus on the prophecy and what's happening. And so it says right after that, when it's talking about their deception, it says, behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked, and they see his shame. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon, a place that we've talked about before. It is owned by UNESCO, which is a branch of the United Nations, and their goal is promoting world peace and security. And if you haven't followed some of our past videos, we talked about Operation Steadfast Defender that they just carried out, where they gathered 90,000 personnel from the 31 allies. And this was a NATO operation uniting at a place, guess where? Right there above and near Armageddon. So interesting that they choose these locations to join together and practice for a threat that is a near peer threat. Would not be doing that if it wasn't going to be something that these unclean spirits are getting the world powers to do. So you might want to rehearse it if you're going to gather people there. Let's see if we can get all these world powers and all these troops and what that looks like. Kind of like a certain event before the pandemic happened was carried out, a rehearsal, so to speak. And so you have that going on. And again, the goal is to war against the Most High and his beloved Son. They're going to be coming down from heaven through the firmament. And of course, they're not going to be successful, as we are told some things happen. And one of the punishments is these large hailstones. And here's some large ones you see about 2.5 pounds. But Revelation 16 tells us that they are great, about the weight of a talent, which is about 100 pounds. These are massive stones. They're going to destroy houses. So understand the script is in place with the world powers, but the prophetic timeline of events and the way it is written is also going to play out. That's the one we need to be focused on. Yes, there are some strange things. We've talked about them in the past. These unclean spirits are very crafty. They will get us to look into things and get carried away with these conspiracies. And I know they're not really conspiracies, they're just obvious things that show us these people have a plan, kind of like The Simpsons. Many of you have remember the video we talked about back when the election nonsense was going on about Barron Trump in that book from I think it was, I can't remember the exact year that book came out. It was a long time ago. I want to say like 1900 when it came out, about Barron Trump, this time traveler. And we looked at the weird things they were telling them to do with the Last President book. It was like a sequel to that one, where they're telling people to stay in their houses. There was an election day that was also on November 3rd, which isn't too uncommon. But there was a Fifth Avenue hotel, and that's where the fury of the mob was. Of course, where is Trump Tower? Fifth Avenue. All the weird stuff. And it's hard to ignore it because it does show you that there is a plan. Like it says in Revelation, unclean spirits at work. And they put their things out there in writing and in the news and in TV shows. They put it everywhere. It's like they're prideful. And the Father can do way more than these unclean spirits. So don't marvel at these things. These are part of lying signs and wonders, just like the things we've looked at with space travel. It is a wonder. People marvel at these things. They worship these things and they see things that they can't understand because we're brainwashed into this worldly wisdom aspect. And so don't get too caught up in these things. There's more we could talk about with how, you know, intriguing this stuff is and how deep these rabbit holes go. But we need to understand that the Father is ultimately in control. He is the one who is going to win in the end. When they try to war against him, it's nothing. They're not going to win. When they do it a second time after the millennial reign, and I call it the millennial reign because, that's kind of how it's worded in Revelation. It's beyond the millennium. It's like it says in Daniel, it's never going to end. The reign doesn't end after the 1,000 years. The enemy's let loose, but the reign is still going on. It's going to go on forever. It's one that will not pass away. And so that 1,000 year millennial time is just a timeline. It doesn't mean that that reign is just going to be for 1,000 years and it's not that great. People don't talk about it or write about it. Everyone's going to know it's here. Everyone's going to see the Messiah when he returns at the right hand. I guess most translations say the right hand of power. You go back to older ones and they say the right hand of the power of God. And so it just depends. I do believe that it's the Father and the Son returning together. He's going to be at the right hand, like it says in Daniel chapter 7. And so you can read that if you don't know what I'm talking about. And it's cool that Daniel is a lot like Revelation, gives you a lot of the same things and helps bring the two pieces of the puzzle together. And remember, where was Daniel exiled and trapped, or I guess kind of held against his will? In Babylon. And we're told to come out of Babylon. I find that extremely fascinating. All the people in Babylon were bowing to the statue. The people that didn't were being put to death. Well, guess what? We're going to have that mark of the beast system. We're not even going to be able to buy, sell, or trade unless we bow to their golden statue, whatever it may be. I feel that it's going to be a false image of the Messiah, like the one you already see created by Rome. I could be wrong on that, but either way, it's going to be something that I feel causes you to break one of the Most High's commandments, that mystery of iniquity, and iniquity being lawlessness. So just be prepared for that. The lawlessness aspect, keeping the commandments is a big deal. It always has been. And like Revelation chapter 12 also tells us, that dragon is going to be angry with those. He's going to be warring with those that keep the commandments. But what else do they have? They're not just keeping commandments. They're not just legalists like a lot of people will try to paint you out to be if you're keeping the commandments. It's people that have the testimony of Jesus Christ or Yeshua HaMashiach, whatever name you want to go with. I know there's a lot of people that get bent out of shape over the names. That word name it's really about the authority. The demons obviously know how to pronounce his name. They were there watching when these things happened. They knew who he was when he was there. And they can't do the things that his children can do because it's about that authority. So yes, the pronunciation of the name is important, but the demons know it. It's more about that authority that we have. So being brought up in Babylon where we're surrounded by false names and false teachings, the Father knows the heart. He wants you to turn to him with all of your heart, get to know what he has gone through, what his son has gone through. It's a powerful journey. It will change your life and those around you. So I wanted to bring some of these things to your attention. I hate talking about the politics because it's all consuming right now. Everyone's talking about it. So continue your focus on getting closer to the Most High. Spend time with him as these deceptions ramp up, as the divide gets greater, and the elect become persecuted, like it says here, the dragon warring with those that keep the commandments and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. So having the faith, big deal, huge. Commandments, also a big deal. It's a blessing. It's the love of God that we keep his commandments. They're not grievous at all. It's not something that's a burden like I thought it was going to be. It's not taken away from the sacrifice of his son who came to show us how to walk. It's about more than just the commandments. If you make them an idol and you make just doing that your idol and your sole focus, anything can become an idol. So remember, it's about the faith as well. It's about loving the Most High with all your heart. And so I want to leave you guys with those words. Love him with all your heart. make sure you are not getting distracted. And no matter how bogus their script is, no matter how obvious it is that it's scripted, we know who wins in the end. So remember that. And you guys stay awesome. We love you. The Father loves you. We have a lot of work to do with creation standards. So I'm going to get to work now, and we will see you guys around real soon.